Hello! Oh my god, that was echoey. If you go down to the description, you can buy our books if you like this kind of thing. The writers write their own books as well, because the writers. Yeah, you can buy us a coffee if you like the show. That'd be really nice. There's a link down there. It actually says buy me a coffee. Sort of easy enough to follow, innit? If you don't like us, then don't buy us a coffee. It's fine. If you really want to, you could rate us on Spotify or the platform of your choice. If you really, really like us, you could tell a friend. Must be nice to have friends. Sorry, what was that? I'm making this too long. Okay, yeah, so enjoy. Is that okay? Yeah? Alright.
Belphastus. This were new. Clinging, peculiar darkness. Cold. Not the dramatic darkness of hell, methinks. Not the crushing void between realities. Not the abyssal black of ancient cosmic terrors and shit. Just dark. Proper bloody dark. Fucking cold and all. And damp. Like the west coast of Scotland on a bank holiday. I became aware gradually, which were unfortunate. Most unpleasant experiences are, aren't they? Unfortunate. The last thing I remembered were Bert. Bloody Bert, the fucking zombie, had been smiling at me. Well, smiling might be a strong word for it. His face had looked as though it had once heard about smiling and was attempting to reconstruct it from memory. "You've got the job!" That was what he'd said. Then just nothing. A gap. A blank space. And now this. I attempted to move, and nothing happened. I attempted to breathe. Nothing happened. That were concerning. I attempted to panic. That worked perfectly. The cold pressed in around me. Yeah, I could feel it now. Not on skin. I wasn't entirely sure I still possessed skin. Just cold. A pervasive, intimate cold. The sort of cold that felt employed. The sort of cold that had pension contributions and annual performance reviews. And then there was the smell. Fuck me. A dreadful smell it were. First I thought it was rot. Then I thought perhaps mould. Or maybe stale milk. Or cabbage. And then all those things, simultaneously. I knew that smell. I just couldn't place it. But something deep inside me recognised it for sure. Some ancient instinct screamed that wherever I was, I absolutely did not want to be there. I concentrated, listened. There were sounds. A low mechanical hum, occasional rattling, a vibration, and then footsteps approaching, heavy, slow, sort of shuffling. And then the footsteps stopped, and there were a pause, and then light. The darkness exploded into painful brightness. I discovered quite suddenly that I could see. Unfortunately, I immediately wished I couldn't. The door of whatever enclosure I occupied swung open, and a large zombie stood before me. Its grey skin were grey. Its Amazombie boiler suit was stained. Its expression suggested active confusion regarding the entire concept of existence. The creature reached inside, towards me. I tried to scream, but nothing happened. The zombie's hand passed beside me. Then something impossible occurred. It casually took hold of my head, my actual head, my entire perspective shifting sideways as it did. The world tilted alarmingly, and I realized with mounting horror that I wasn't standing or sitting or floating. I was resting on a shelf inside a refrigerator, among cartons of milk, several yogurts, and a packet labelled ham probably. Next to me were a suspiciously furry orange. The zombie moved me slightly to the left, not carefully, not cruelly either, just conveniently, like repositioning a ketchup bottle. Behind me sat a brightly coloured lunchbox. The lunchbox featured a smiling cartoon zombie. Underneath were cheerful letters, Bert's Big Lunch Adventures, with a tagline that said, "It's probably brains." The zombie picked up the lunchbox. "Found it!" It sounded right pleased. I watched helplessly as it took the lunchbox under its arm, and then it looked directly at me. One eye drifted slightly outward, the other remained fixed. A long silence followed. "Oh!" It sounded surprised. "Oh, I never got to say thanks to you." My face showed confusion. I attempted to answer, but there were nothing. The zombie nodded thoughtfully. "For this," he said, unzipping his boiler suit at the neck, a grey neck that had been stitched very neatly to a not grey, fresh body. Horror racked me, or a certain bit of me that was left. That were my fucking body. He was using my fucking body. A body that I didn't even particularly like until it had gone. "Hey, you looked after it right well. Tough for that. Been right good it has. Even the kidneys work properly, they do," he said, and then gave me a crumbly-lipped smile. "Lost and had prostate issues. Made me piss all over the bloody place all bloody time." I could sense my thoughts on this news, and I just wished to go back to the fact that this bastard had my body. Mine. I tried to talk again. Felt my mouth move. I were raging and ranting, spewing venomous language, silently. No sound. Nothing. No lungs, you see, to make a sound, I suppose. "Sorry, lad, I can't breathe." The face did almost show me some degree of crumbly contrition. "I can do a bit of sign language. Learned it back up college in 1978. Useful it is. Aye. Oh, but you got no arms, have you? So that were proper daft to me, wasn't it? Ah, oh. The bastard laughed. "Hey, we do have a right laugh at work, don't we? Can I get you out?" More rage was released in silence, but frenetic lip movement occurred. The Bert looked at me, still smiling. I had not managed to communicate anything with him at all, so
Nothing then?
He asked, 2 fucking rhetorical questions.
Fair enough.
Then he carefully repositioned me head. Not out of kindness, more like out of organisation. I were apparently a workplace item. The refrigerator door began to close. The light narrowed. That disgusting smell returned, and the darkness swallowed everything once more. The last thing I heard before the door shut completely was the zombie speaking to someone outside.
You still got that bloody sorcerer's head in the fridge? Bloody thing gives me the right heebie-jeebies, it does.
The second voice replied.
Is it yours? You know, if it's yours, it has to be clearly labelled so nobody else eats it like.
The words uttered by the second voice would have caused panic and fear in the past. Well, frankly, it did now. Was my head being kept as a lunch item? Oh, for God's sake, please no. Was my noodle just being kept like instant noodles? Maybe instant brains?
No, it's not for eating, Bert,
said what I recognised as the first zombie.
A brain like the one in that head would give you right terminal indigestion, it's so corrupted. Oh, is it bloody management then?
Asked the second voice, with that bloody laughter again.
No, not management.
Then there was a pause. And then he said,
A lot bloody worse.
The door fully closed. The darkness returned. Instantly. The refrigerator ticked on and hummed to bring the temperature back to whatever it should be in a fridge. And for the first time since being agonisingly torn apart by an angry fucking werecat, I began to suspect things might actually be getting worse.
Wing Commander here. The sky had ceased being a location some time ago. It had become a bloody argument. An argument conducted at several hundred miles an hour. No, not several. This is ancient aviation. An argument conducted at several miles per hour with machine guns. Personally, I prefer this sort of disagreement. There was a clarity to it. One knew precisely where one stood, or sat, or nothing, actually. Well, usually we sat somewhere between glory and an explosive death. The old girl, the old plane beneath me shuddered as another burst of enemy fire passed around us, somewhat unpleasantly, what? The explosively propelled projectiles pierced the counters and wood around me, and I do to this day swear I felt the buzzing bullet wasp its way past my good old mustachio with a whining hum. "Bit close, that one!" I yelled, laughing into the maelstrom of the night. I patted the instrument panel affectionately. "Steady on, darling!" The aircraft responded by vibrating more aggressively. I chose to interpret that as an agreement of sorts. Ahead of me, the crimson triplane twisted through the clouds with some predatory bird that had become offended by the very concept of gravity. The Red Baron. Good Lord, what a pilot! One rarely encounters greatness. One often encounters competence. One often encounters confidence. One occasionally, encounters overconfidence. Greatness on this monumental scale is particularly much rarer. Unfortunately for me, greatness was currently trying bloody hard to shoot me out of the sky, which was, I have to admit it, thrilling. Luck was still sitting behind me. I could hear her muttering something. I never entirely trust anyone who spoke to probabilities though it was a drinking companion. "Where is he?" I asked. "I've lost him." I almost turned around. Almost. A pilot learns very early not to stop looking where he is going, particularly when another pilot is attempting to murder them. What?
You've lost him?
Yeah,
You.
apparently.
That is concerning.
Quite. The clouds swallowed us, white everywhere, no horizon, no earth, no heaven, just vapor. Then gunfire erupted above me. I pushed the stick forward instinctively. Canvas exploded beside my head. Splinters sprayed the cockpit. I did something with the stick. I don't know what. A maneuver done on sheer instinct. The next burst of machine gun fire strafed the tail, but only a little of the rudder was shredded, fortunately. Then the Baron burst from the clouds upside down. Yes, actually bloody upside down, firing, snarling and smiling, showing off somewhat, I must admit. The man was, well, he was absolutely showing off. I found myself grinning. It is difficult not to admire a professional, even when the professional is trying to kill you, particularly when it's to admire them when they're trying to kill you, actually. Our duel continued. Down, up, roll, dive, climb, turn. The sort of flying that makes modern pilots spill their coffee and complain to the manufacturer. Twice I thought I had him. Twice he proved me wrong. 3 times he should have killed me, 3 times something impossible intervened. A jammed gun from him, a drifting cloud, a gust of wind. Is that you, old girl, doing your look thing? I looked behind me briefly to know whether the look was responsible. She smiled that beautiful smile and shook her head.
That's fate doing that.
She said. I knew it, and somehow the Baron seemed to know it too. One could see it in the way he started flying. He was no longer fighting me, he was fighting Freddy Fate himself. Frankly, I respected that. The ground rushed beneath us. Forests flashed, fields became green smears. A river appeared and vanished before I probably noticed it. The Baron levelled out first. Of course he did. I followed and felt the belly of my plane scrape on the tops of the trees. No undercarriage anymore, you see. Branches exploded around us. Look, screamed. I ignored her like a bit of a cad, but it was necessary. And the truth is that passengers often scream during moments of exceptional flying. It is sort of considered rude to acknowledge it. Then the Baron climbed vertically, straight bloody upwards. His machine hung from its propeller like a dragonfly that had suddenly developed religious convictions. I followed, because there are only 2 responses to a challenge: rise to it or become a cautionary tale. The little Bristol aircraft groaned. Oh, she did. The underpowered engine protested. I suspect several important components resigned from service and went pink. But still, we climbed because I willed it. Then I saw it. What an error. The Baron did not make errors. He gave me an opportunity, a tiny one, a sliver of possibility, the sort of opening that only exists for a fraction of a second. Most pilots would never have noticed it. Most who notice it would never attempt it. I, for one, am pleased to report that I have never suffered from an excessive level of common sense. So I shoved the stick forward and the aircraft dropped. Luck immediately began swearing. Well, at least I think she was swearing. Some of those words were new to me, but I could tell that they held babbles of venom. That was encouraging. The speed built faster, faster, faster. The airframe shook itself like an offended dog. Then I pulled back, hard, very hard. The maneuver was somewhere between aeronautics and blasphemy. For one impossible moment, we hung motionless. The aircraft pivoted, rotated, turned, and suddenly, there he was, directly ahead. The Red Baron, perfectly framed in my sights. For the first time in the battle, he was surprised. Only slightly, but enough. I squeezed the trigger. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. The guns roared. The first burst missed. The second walked across the fuselage of the red kite. The third struck home. Flame erupted from its bloody engine. Black smoke followed. The propeller slowed, then stopped. The triplane did not fall, though. A lesser pilot would have fallen. The Baron merely began to glide. I eased alongside him. The fire, well, it spread. The canvas blackened, wood cracked. Yet somehow he remained dignified and in the air, as though this was simply another part of the flight, another afternoon, and another day at his office. I removed my flying hat in diffidence. Look, she did the very same. The Baron turned his head towards me. Our eyes met. No anger, no hatred, no fear, only understanding. Pilot to bloody pilot. Warrior to warrior. He saluted. I returned it. There are moments in life when words become unnecessary, and this was one of them. So long, old chap. I yelled. I knew he could not hear me, but I had to say my goodbyes. He nodded. The flames then engulfed the nose of the aircraft. Still that man sat perfectly upright. Still calm. Still bloody magnificent. And then the machine exploded. The sound rolled across the heavens. Red wings became fragments. Canvas became ash. Fire became smoke. And then there was only empty sky. I stared at it for a while. One should take a moment when witnessing the end of greatness. Behind me, Luck finally spoke.
Best pilot who ever lived.
She said. I considered that. I mean, I'm not one to put myself forward, as they say. I'm not one to blow my own trumpet. But you know what? I shook my head. No, not the best pilot who ever lived. No, I smiled. He was the second best. And with that, I banged the old girl towards whatever impossible nonsense awaited us next.
The Professor. I hopped around and yelled as I got over the only outcome that could have applied when kicking a giant lion head cut from a giant lion man's body. Rather a stubbed toe. I carefully balanced on one foot while rubbing through my grey, gooey, goop-laden shoe leather, trying to resuscitate the big toe of my right foot. The pain slowly drained, and then I stopped. I didn't move. Movement at this stage may have implied optimism, and optimism, in my centuries of experience, was simply ignorance wearing a pleasant hat. Bollocks! I said to the sky, to the Almighty himself, perhaps. Hope he was listening. The Balkalavian who lay behind me in the mud I had decapitated, disarmed and finally persuaded him to silence. A regrettable necessity, but a necessary necessity all the same. I allowed myself no triumph after the head kick of stubbed toeiness. Triumph encourages repetition, and repetition is how people get killed in interesting ways. The battlefield, however, was not finished with me. Would it ever be? Something in the air changed. Not wind. Wind is honest. This was intention. Awareness. The unpleasant sensation of being observed by something that found the concept of rules mildly decorative. I sighed. Oh no, I said aloud. In my death-defying defeat of the old blood god, I'd forgotten momentarily. Forgotten about her. Foxglove. Of course. The fucking fairy Foxglove. She stood on the giant corpse as their reality had momentarily agreed to stop resisting her existence. Small, sweet, delicate, almost charming, if one ignored the fact that charm was one of her primary weapon systems. She wore courtly finery that had been redesigned by madness and poor impulse control. Purple lace, silk, and something that might once have been morality. Her wings shimmered faintly, entirely unconcerned with physics. Definitely designed for fucking flitting about. Most people make the mistake of noticing her tiny size first, This is an error they don't usually make more than once, though. She smiled and batted her eyelids as though we were meeting at a garden party rather than a slaughter field. She was trying to glamorize me. No, not that. To put glamour on me. I winced at the wave of confusion and friendly mask it created for the little flying bitch. I started a mantra using a little-known spell invented and passed on to me by Agatha, the famed Witch of Scythian Blair. I looked at her and smiled. It was the first strike of the beast. I cannot possibly explain how out of my depth I felt facing this thing. I was nothing more than a nanoscale bug under her tiny shoe. But I might be a mite that can at least offer a bite. Her eyes left mine at last. I'd won round 2 at least. Shit. This was going well. I was, oh shit, no. Don't fool yourself that you've any hope in this case in literal hell. She pouted for a moment, looking like a tiny green woman with wings being made to eat her vegetables. Eventually,
That
she said, gesturing vaguely at the corpse behind me.
was disappointing.
I beg your pardon,
The giant?
she replied.
He was meant to be more expressive.
He attempted to kill me,
Yes,
she said brightly.
that was the arrangement.
That was the moment I understood the problem. Not her presence, you understand. More her ownership of the situation. Foxglove, you see, didn't so much participate in events as she curated them. You are expanding your operations, I said carefully.
Oh, I do everything.
She replied.
Markets, moods, empires. Mostly moods.
Your fairy dust trade, I continued. It creates dependency, hallucination, and collapse of rational behavior. Entire economies built on,
Joy.
she corrected.
You mean joy.
It makes people, things that can't, it makes them believe they can fly,
They feel like they can fly.
she said.
Reality is such a rigid concept. I prefer interpretations.
I tightened my grip on my sword. Not because it would help, it wouldn't. But because it reminded me I was still participating in the physical world. Why are you here? I asked. Foxglove tilted her head.
To see what survives.
She said simply. A pause. Then she added, almost conversationally.
You surprised me with the giant.
She stirred a tiny muddy puddle that had gathered in the giant belly button. I noticed he was an innie. She stirred it with the point of her ballet slippers. That was not my intention,
No,
she agreed.
it rarely is.
The air around her shimmered. Color shifted. The mud briefly considered becoming something pleasant. A distant scream turned into laughter before remembering it was supposed to be terror. Fairy fucking influence again. This time, a glamour that, compared to her last magical attack, which had the power of a warm breeze, this hit me with the power of a slightly tepid supernova. Exactly. Subtle. And it hit everywhere, and everything already inside the system. I exhaled slowly. I would like to go home now, please, I said. Foxglove laughed.
Oh, Professor,
She said softly.
that's the most dangerous thing you've said all day.
Behind her, golden dust began to drift into existence. tiny motes of impossible light, beautiful enough to forgive their consequences. I felt my stomach tighten. "No," I said. "Absolutely not." Her smile widened.
"Oh, yes."
And I understood, with the clarity of someone who has spent too long surviving intelligent problems, that the giant had been only the introduction. Foxglove was the lecture, and I was not certain I had enrolled into the correct course.
Lucifer. Oh, no, I don't think so. I watched the fairy turn the full ferocity of her magical influence on my dear Simon. He would fall to this. He would melt like a waxwork model of the man before a nuclear blast. Oh, no. I turned to Freddy Fate, shaking my head. He needed to step in. He nodded and vaguely smiled in my direction. It was difficult to know if this was directed at me, as his eyes were not there. I turned back to the television screen. The professor fell to his knees, screaming, clutching his head as the fairy floated up on flittering wings above him. I watched as the little winged woman directed motes of glowing dust with her hands and offered I know a trope, but it was a maniacal laugh to the world. Oh, no, I told the room. Look at Freddy again. Nothing. So, I clicked my fingers with annoyance. I was still the master of that realm, but I did not like to get the blame for anything. Better if it had been Freddy. The magic stopped. Instantly. The fairy faltered in the air for a moment. Simon crumpled slowly onto the muddy floor and ended his slump by taking up a fetal position, thumb in mouth. He stayed there. The fairy gathered herself after looking around to see who or what had robbed her of her power. Then she floated slowly towards the downed man as he rocked himself gently and cried. No, not cried. Blubbered, that's it. He had to get himself together. She got closer. "Come on, Simon!" I yelled at the television with the anger of a football fan on Sunday, yelling at his favourite player, who's not quite living up to the several £1 million he earns a week. "Come on, you stupid bastard! Get up!" I yelled at the screen.